Friday, August 28th, and we are live streaming here on the Real Kyper at noon show. I hope everybody's doing well. We've got a lull in the schedule, which means that we're going to open it up a little bit more on this Friday, and we're going to ask Kyper and Mac. So we want you all involved, and you have been throughout all of this. Love the comments. I think Michael Roberts already got a question, I think, for Mac on what kind of pizza toppings you want, Mac. But we'll get to you momentarily. I don't know. Are you an anchovies guy? But maybe some levity is the call that we need on Friday, because we left yesterday's show and we talked about to play or not to play. It was pretty clear from the National Hockey League, I think, from Gary Bettman's office, that they were leaning on continuing to play. And we didn't see a cancellation 2 nights ago of Dallas and Colorado. But the players spoke pretty loudly yesterday. And yes, were they criticized for not doing it sooner? You can say that. And it's not all one way here. We read your comments, you go through social media. There's a core group of everybody that's pretty well represented on what to do, what shut down, don't shut down. How's the best way to get your voice across? Is it to continue to play or to not to play? And everybody has good, valid reasons. That's why we're in an era where we have to listen to everybody, and we have to respect everybody's right to have an opinion. And it's not definitive one way or another. There's good points to be made all the way around. And I think that the players, although they got criticized, have always been that way in terms of taking information in and making a good decision. And were they criticized? Yes. But is it better to show up at the party late than not show up at all? I would say that would be the case in this instance. There's no question that not playing last night and not playing tonight sends another good message worldwide that we have to be better people, better human beings. Will there be any change in 2 days? No. But is there a good reminder there that we all have to do better? We all have to be better listeners. We all have to have more tolerance. Yes, it's a good reminder. And maybe that's just enough for now. And they will resume Saturday. We've got Philly and the Islanders at 7 p.m., Vegas and Vancouver at 9:45. And many of you will probably sit there and say, that did nothing. Well, got people talking and listening. And that's a good thing. When we spoke of yesterday's show, we also talked about this thing not just being hour to hour, but minute to minute. And when we talked about the NHL talking amongst themselves on what to do this time yesterday, we also knew that the NBA was doing a lot of talking. And it really sounded like it got heated during those player meetings. One thing that we know over the last 24 hours when it comes to the NHL or the NHL Players Association is that they had great dialogue. And we heard the names. Ryan Reeves involved. Kevin Shattenkirk from Tampa, very involved. The Vancouver Canucks stood up and played a pretty important part. And it just seemed from the moment that these calls and text messages were exchanged that everybody was feeling and concluding that the right decision for them was to shut down last night and shut down tonight. Now, if you had any idea in terms of looking into the NBA, we got a different feel. I think it was Chris Haynes from Yahoo Sports. If you get a chance, go read his article, because it gives a very good detail of what their 24 hours were like. And they weren't like the NHL, not at all. They got pretty heated, and we do know the face of the league belongs to LeBron James. And there was a real sense in Chris's article that he wanted to shut it down. He wanted to go home. that he was done with it. And of course, when you've got 500, 600 players in the NHL or in the NBA, a players association, not everybody's going to feel the same way. And Michelle Roberts, the executive director of the NBA, she had her hands full. No question. Part of the article where she politely asked to continue to talk, one player said to her, no, I pay you. And that was a constant reminder of how the players are feeling the stress moving forward. But they are coming back, as we knew yesterday when Jordan came in on the show yesterday and said they decided to resume play. We also know, according to Chris's article, that it was followed up with, I'm sure, a very passionate call with a lot of owners in the NBA. And that's how the NBA players feel, that if they're going to see true change, as much as we have a platform as players, you want to go to the owners and work on change. And there's a very good chance that 30 billionaire owners have a chance to put more pressure, say, on politicians or people that they back up financially. They could move the needle a lot more. And I think that's what really brought LeBron back is at least, putting some pressure maybe on the owners to implement change. So we do know that the NHL Players Association, I don't know where they are in terms of their next move, but no question that the right decision was to at least take some time off and reflect and continue the message. So for that, I'm okay with that. Why don't we bring in Doug McLean, everybody's favorite PEI personality. Doug, when you look at the last 24 hours, how did you see things shaking down?
Well, it's really interesting for a guy that's as mouthy as I am in most situations. And a lot of people will agree with that comment I just made. I am pretty mouthy with most situations. I find this a really challenging thing. I watched last night when I saw Ryan Reeves and the Vancouver Canucks and the players from the Western bubble stand and unite. It made me feel really good. It made me feel really good that that's what the players felt they had to do for, this social injustice, inequality, all the things we talk about. But as a person like myself, I find this really uncomfortable to talk about. And that's me who I usually don't find things uncomfortable to talk about. So
we have to, Mac.
So I as I go through this process of the last few months, I want to be really comfortable to talk about this. I want to feel that I'm not at risk of saying something wrong. I want to feel comfortable talking about it, giving my opinions on it, and understanding it more. So I think that, and I've heard Anson Carter talk about this on NBC about conversation. The more we converse about it, the more we talk about it, the better off all of this will become, hopefully, and work towards the goals of this social movement. So I'm starting to feel more comfortable, but I got to tell you, I find it challenging, and I think that's a big part of all this. Let's work towards being comfortable that we can say and work and try to make it better.
And the comfort comes, Mac, from generally gathering information and giving yourself the best chance to understand it. And I think the criticism on the players playing 2 nights ago, I'm not sure if it was completely warranted, for no other reason that the players were already in the dressing room. They were already preparing. uh, there wasn't enough information coming in, and me and you we're older, right? We've lived through a lot in the last little while, and sometimes we tease the players or the millennials for probably being a little bit more spoon-fed than even our generation. But the one thing that hasn't changed from generation to generation, Mac, is these these hockey players in our culture is still considered, one of the nicer ones when it comes to, comparing us to other athletes. We often heard the hockey players are the nicest, and that made me feel good. And I'm sure as a president or a general manager, as a coach, that made you feel good. And generally speaking, hockey players are they're pleasers, Mac. Whether
Yeah.
it is, from an early age to wanting to please your parents, please teachers, please coaches, and now community, or doing the right thing. That hasn't changed from generation to generation. The hockey players want to do the right thing. And while maybe the league probably would have supported them to keep playing, and I said it yesterday, Mac, not one player wants to spend 1 minute longer than they have to in that bubble.
No.
But they did, in their opinion and by their actions, they feel like not playing for 2 days is doing the right thing. And I don't blame them one bit.
And but I agree that, doing the right thing is important, but I really believe that they also believe deeply it's the right thing. I liken this to talking to my 2 adult children. I say adult children. Clark's 32, Mackenzie's 29. And when I talk to them, or they talk to me about these issues, they are so much more comfortable talking about it and educating me on it. And I feel really good about that. So people say, well, the young people this, the young people that. They have a good grip on this. And I think that's what's happened over the past number of years, that we're moving towards a better society because people that I deal with are starting, to explain to me, and I guess it's my kids, and I feel really good about that. So I think this movement has got to stay. I think we've got to be all better people, as you alluded to. And but I got to tell you, I really want to become more comfortable talking about all these issues. And to me, that means I've got to become even more educated about it than the little bit I am. I've got to improve.
Is that what we saw at Alain Vigneault in his press conference yesterday? Head coach, of course, of the Philadelphia Flyers. He said, Mac, I don't really know what's going on in the outside world. And there's no question that there's a tremendous amount of pressure and stress all at the same time for doing your job, and that is to win. And the focus is 100% on winning. But I don't know if playing ignorant on the outside world was the best thing for Alain to do yesterday.
No, it wasn't. And you get caught in those situations saying something you probably don't mean. But you know what? I remember back when I was a coach and general manager and a president, and Jill will bring up something that happened with our kids, when I was a coach and GM. And I'll say, really, that happened? And she said, do you realize that you missed like 8 or 10 years of our lives because you were so immersed and messed up in your job that you missed out on all these things? And I'm thinking, well, I got a lot. So, I don't think Alain Vigneault meant what he said, but I know it becomes so oblivious to everything else because the pressure of trying to win. And that's so small as compared to what's been happening outside the bubble in the last while.
Well,
and this is not just the last while. this has been a movement that's been gaining ground tremendously over the past years.
I think what's been lost in all of this too is that I think the NHL and the NHL Players Association are over 50,000 COVID tests, Mac. 50,000 since they started, I guess, phase 4, and they've only had 3 positives. 2 at the hotel and 1 rink attendant. And that's it. It's amazing.
Well, it is amazing. And I check Florida every day because obviously my daughter Mackenzie lives in Florida. They had 3,889 cases yesterday in Florida, 2,125 cases or so the day before. And that's down from 10,000 cases a day a month ago. So let's hope we're all trending soon as well as the NHL is.
Okay, with no games on schedule tonight and play resuming on the weekend, we thought this would be a good time to take a few calls, or not a few calls, but a few of the questions out there. I'm going to
Can we screen these calls or what?
No,
like, I don't want my haters coming out loud and clear here. I want Jordan and Joe to screen my calls.
No, don't do that. We're going to have Jordan come in and read us a few of the questions a little later. But I want to, Mac, get into what we described, 3 weeks ago as one of the hottest stories going was what the heck is going on in Arizona with the Coyotes, and where was the league on the violating a prospect rule that says you're not allowed to do any certain testing before dates, and how was Gary Bettman going to handle that? We thought it was going to get handled before August 1st, before they got into their 24-team tournament, and yet we heard nothing. And then a couple of days ago, kind of out of nowhere, boom, Arizona gets nailed with losing a second-round pick this year and a first-round pick next year. And they've already lost their first-round pick to the Taylor Hall trade. And I believe this year they don't pick until the 4th round. Mac, too much, too little, or just about right here in terms of Gary Bettman coming down hard on the Coyotes?
Look, when you cheat on your not your partners, but your fellow GMers, it really grates on the general managers in the NHL when they hear that somebody amongst their group is cheating. And you know what? You try to follow the rules and the guidelines when it comes to such an important aspect of being a general manager, and that being the draft. And you are always talking to your players or your scouts and your management people about the rules. And when you blatantly break the rules like they did, they deserve to have the book thrown at them. For me, Gary give a first and second round pick over the next 2 years. That's severe.
It is severe.
I would like to have seen it been a little tougher than that. And you know what? Gary didn't suspend Chyka. I had people tell me that Chyka could be suspended for a year from being involved in the NHL. I talked about people talking about $1 million fines. I think Gary felt that he has a new owner in Arizona, an owner that he recruited, and I suspect he tried to be as fair as possible in this situation, while at the same time throwing the book at them.
Well, it appears that Gary did cut them some slack here, Mac.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when the Coyotes put out a press release, they did mention that basically we're under new ownership, and under new ownership, this will never happen again. So it's clear they got a break. Now, Mac, I had heard that in the report, they knew of at least 20 violations, and many feel like there could have been as many as 80 violations. And if you factor in $250,000 per violation, I'm still sitting there going, man, just a first and a second. Not bad. And no
Listen,
fines.
I'll never forget getting a call from Bill Daly saying that I had been accused of tampering.
Let me put my surprise face on.
And I'm thinking, are you kidding? And what it was I was at the Memorial Cup in Halifax, and Brad Richards was playing in the Memorial Cup, and he was a former draft pick, a third-round pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Brad Richards is from PEI. I'm from PEI. And I was hanging out with Pat Morris, the agent.
So connect the dots.
What it was, then I get the call, I'm tampering with Brad Richards. And I say, BS, I'm tampering with Brad Richards. It was not Brad Richards I was tampering with. It was somebody else. But Dudley, which was smart of him, said, okay, I'm going to go after McLean and Columbus for tampering with Brad Richards, so that will make Doug back off. And if we don't get Brad signed, and he was becoming a free agent, if they hadn't got him signed, I would have been scared. So, and I wasn't really tampering. I mean, we were just BSing.
I was around tampering. I was just nudging tampering.
But when I got the call, it made me nervous. I didn't like to have that call coming from the league as a first-year general manager. Chyka, to have that happen to him, not good. Not good when the other 30 guys are. There's one thing you as a GM you hate more than anything: people tampering with your players or people breaking the rules when it comes to an even playing field on the draft policies. So he's lucky.
I'm going to ask you, in your expert opinion as a former president and general manager, what is the monetary value of a first round pick? When I watch, I guess, Patrick Marleau go to Carolina, and Tom Dundon, the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, has to stroke a check for a $3 million signing bonus, plus spend another, $750,000 or $1 million to get out of that contract. Then we know that a first rounder, according to that, is almost $4 million. But I look at Carolina, Mac. I look at Arizona now, and I don't like their team. You like their team? I don't like their team.
No, I don't either. But let's talk just briefly about what is the value of a first-round pick. What is the value of the Pittsburgh Penguins? What did the value of Sidney Crosby mean to the Pittsburgh Penguins? Near bankruptcy when he goes there, down and out, a team that had like 3 first-round picks over a 3 to 5 year period. Sid Crosby goes there, and today they're worth $800 million, $700 million, $650 million. What is the value of Sidney Crosby there? What's the value of Connor McDavid? What's the value of Jamie Benn as a pick? What are the values of these guys? It could be millions and it could be hundreds of millions. Yeah. So you just never can underestimate the value of a draft pick. That's for sure.
Kemper saved them. I think they're a lot worse without Kemper. They're a bottom feeder without Kemper.
So, you know what? I look at what's gone on since the Winnipeg Jets moved to Arizona. I mean, when you look at the record and look at where this franchise has gone, from Winnipeg Jets to challenging to the Detroit Red Wings in playoffs to moving to the desert, and for years and years and years of futility, mismanaged, misowned, it just goes on and on. I hope now that this new ownership group, and look, people can criticize Gary Bettman all they want about lots of things. You cannot criticize him, but the value that he's done to the league by bringing in some really high-powered, high-quality owners. You still have the odd miss. But that's one thing that's really changed the league is the people that have come in. Can that change? Can this new group change what is going on with Arizona? It'll be interesting to see.
I wonder if Carolina, or I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep referring to Carolina, but if Arizona, maybe it's the A at the end, if Arizona has a tough year and that's a top 5 pick, think about the value that could be if you were to trade it away. It's scary.
First overall pick.
The value, like you said, it could be tens of millions of dollars. The worth that pick. I would believe that first and second could cost anywhere between $30 and $50 million. And not only that, Mac, it sets the program back 5 years minimum, losing your first and second pick. 5 years that those fans now have to take a back seat.
You know what? Look, we saw what happened. Erik Karlsson gets traded to San Jose, and all of a sudden we've got Ottawa with the 3rd and 5th pick in this year's draft. And we say, okay, whoa, Erik Karlsson, tough trade, tough loss. All of a sudden you see this, what could come back to help revitalize a franchise that's really struggled recently. That is the value of it. Value of getting the pick. And what if it's the first overall pick? What if it's a franchise player? What if it's that's where you just don't know on these rulings. So, hey, let's hope Arizona recover. Let's hope that, that it works out for them with the new ownership group, because I'm sick and tired of the fairy tales coming out of Arizona.
Well,
we used to have Anthony LeBlanc come on our show at Hockey Central Noon, and I'd say fairy tales with Anthony, and it never ended.
Gary Bettman didn't like the fairy tales either.
No.
And it really appears that, he was not happy with any of this. And that, I think, was abundantly clear when he finished his investigation or his report.
Hey,
we'll see where it goes. Nick Kypreos here with everybody's favorite son out of Summerside, PEI, Doug McLean. One more note on this Arizona, and this is Chyka. Like, we can't find him with a searchlight. And now that we understand the violations that happened, and Mac, I got to tell you something from what I heard, it was crystal clear in all of this is how much they violated the rules in terms of videotaping the kids. Some of them under the age of 18. It was not pretty here. And I got to ask you as a president and general manager in terms of Chyka and his responsibilities. Now, I was also told, Mac, that he, in this report or this investigation, he kind of played ignorant, that he did not know the bylaws. He did not know the bylaws. Is that possible? You've been a general manager. Is that possible that Chyka just didn't know?
Want to read the bylaws as a general manager? You better get somebody in your organization who reads them and look. We talk about the CBA. Did I want to really read the CBA from cover to cover? Not really. I seem to be busy. But I had a guy, by the way, who today is the assistant general manager of the Colorado Avalanche, Chris McFarland, would take the CBA and put it into short form with all the major points for me so that I could grab that and in a minute's notice be up to snuff on all CBA things. So no excuse that you don't know, that he didn't know. I'm not buying it.
So forget about the bylaws. If he didn't know, he didn't know. But when you're essentially,
it's
as a general manager,
to know.
You're supervising everybody here, right? It's your business to know what your scouts are doing. You have to sign off on expenses, do you not, Mac? So if I see an expense from, say, Winnipeg or Buffalo at the combine, and I have to sign off on it, there's just no real chance that a general manager doesn't really know what's going on with his scouts or prospects. You sign off on stuff, do you not?
Not only that, but your director of amateur scouting, your assistant GM, your president of hockey ops, your hockey operations director, they know these rules. I'm not buying it that they don't know these rules. So from him on down, lots of people knew it was wrong. I'm not buying it. Sorry.
I mean, it doesn't appear like there's going to be anything holding back Chyka from working somewhere else. There's no sense that I got from people that I talked to that he can go somewhere else, but he's going to be suspended for a year or anything like that. It appears that he may be willing or free, at least, to go work for another team. And we do know that everything that we have heard leans towards New Jersey in some capacity. My only question is now, Mac, if you're New Jersey, do you revisit this and say, how could this happen on your watch? And maybe I got to think twice.
I don't know how they couldn't. I don't know how they couldn't revisit it. And at least I'm not, I don't wish John Chyka any bad luck. I don't care if he gets another job or not. If he gets one, good. I mean, I know how tough it is to get these jobs, but for them not to ask, unless they had gone way down the road and knew what was going on and knew all about this. So we'll see. I can't comment because I don't know how much Jersey knew, but I would think anybody that interviews John Chyka in the future is going to want an explanation as to how this happened.
Well, big message from the league. Big message from Gary Bettman. Don't cheat.
He doesn't like it. Gary doesn't like it.
I'll tell you another thing he doesn't. When you don't tell him the truth, when you try to hide things, it's not a good thing in his eyes.
I find that's pretty close to how most people feel about it.
I'm the director of hockey here at the Real Kyper at Noon show. I run a tight ship, Mac. If I ever hear you come on the show and you fib a little, you're not up with our listeners and our followers, you're in big trouble.
Did you sign off on my expenses I just sent in?
Okay, let's change the subject now. Jordan, you got a question for Mac?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too heated and start on a bad spot, but the first comment we had in chat today was about the preferred pizza topping for Doug.
Oh, that's right.
I was a little caught off guard there.
I said that, Mac. Now,
well,
hold on. Can I tee this up a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, it's
who's it from? Who's it from?
Who's it from,
the
Michael?
Question from?
The question is from Michael Roberts.
Michael Roberts, thank you so much, because when we worked at Sportsnet, I got so pissed off at them because between games, and we worked sometimes long nights where there was an East Coast, West Coast game, they would stuff us with pizza. And I like pizza, but I don't like it like 5 nights a week. And there is a tendency for pizza to kind of slow you down, to pull you down. But not watching Mac. Apparently it gets Mac going, because I've never seen a guy wolf down like 12 slices in about 30 seconds.
I can go on the pizza as good as anybody, but I have to give a little background on this. Mike Roberts, I happen to know Mike Roberts. He's one of my golf partners.
There you go.
He's from Halifax. I don't really like playing golf with him because he likes to come in a little bit like you in the high 70s,
Yeah.
But anyway, during isolation in PEI, when I had to do my 14-day isolation, we were not allowed to leave our property. So what our neighbors, the Roberts, would order pizza from Michael's in Summerside, Michael's Pizzeria, which is, by the way, the best pizza in the world, Michael's Pizza in Summerside. And we would have
free pizza for Mac.
We would have a driveway pizza party. And we would have some pizza and some wine. And, they would sit across the driveway. And so we were on our property and they weren't allowed on our property during isolation. So that's where the pizza came from. And Michael's, and I would wolf down Like, I love meat lovers. I love meat lovers. And Jill mentioned today we might have some tonight, and she said, "What about veggie?" And I said, and I lost it. I lost it. I said, I can't have veggie. Come on, I got to have my meat lovers. So
you put 20 slices away. It would take it would be the equivalent to 20 slices before you caught up to half a dozen meat lover slices.
Anyway, that's the pizza story. That's a really good question there.
All right, Jordan, give us a hockey one. Come on, Jordan.
I'm more of a pizza guy than a hockey guy, so we started there for a good reason. All right. From Gary Gantz, can the guys discuss player matchups, shadowing back in the day? In the series they've been in, and they brought out the best of both players, what works, what doesn't work. I think this kind of goes back to the whole Ryan Reaves thing. Like, how do you deal with a single person that has that big of an impact on the rest of the way you play?
Well, I'll let the coach go on this one. But there are key matchups. I don't necessarily value how to stop Ryan Reaves with how to stop a guy like or match up against a Ryan O'Reilly or a Connor McDavid. But there's no question that those type of decisions, Mac, can make or break a game and especially a series.
It's really critical matchups, and it's something I find really intriguing. And I just go back to when I was coaching in Florida and we were playing against Eric Lindros in the Philadelphia series, who was at that time one of the most dominant players in all of hockey. And then the next series going head to head against Mario Lemieux-Jagr. And we didn't use the shadowing approach, but we used line matchup. The shadowing approach was when a player would follow Bobby Hull all over the ice or Jean Beliveau all over the ice. And it was like a shadowing situation. And you would, if he went for a cup of coffee in the bench, you would go with him. Today, it's more of you match up certain lines. Now, what I did in the Lindros series, I had the Brian Skrudlin line and I had the Rob Niedermayer line. And we would go into the series with the plan that as long as I had Niedermayer's line or Skrudlin's line on the ice against Lindros, I was comfortable. And then I wanted the line matchup. And Lindy Ruff, our defense coach, would really monitor that. We wanted certain defensemen, whether it was Rhett Warner and Gordon Murphy or who it was, head-to-head against their line. So every time they were on the ice, we had our defense pair against them, and we had our forward group against them. And the main objective when they were on the ice was to keep them off the board. Don't worry so much about focusing on scoring, but keep them off the board. So line matchups today, in today's NHL, not maybe as tight, but it's still important. And the more subtle you can do it as a coach on the bench, the more effective it can work.
Also, Mac, viewers and listeners got to understand the prep work that goes into a playoff series is unlike anything you'll experience during the regular season. We often don't hear from coaches really about our opponent until the morning of the game, and we'll go to the rink in the morning. We'll have what we call like a shoot around in a basketball term, or a morning skate. And then we probably would come in and get maybe a little bit of video or a little bit of talk. And then, of course, there's the big pregame meeting that on a 7 o'clock start would probably come in around 5:30. So that's the extent of a regular season. In the playoffs, we would have anywhere between a week and 3 days that we would get so much information. If it's one or two things on a player during the regular season, I can assure you it's 20, Mac. And most often than not, it's a booklet, and it's a thick booklet, all on your opponent, all on tendencies, and all on how my game can be tailored to stop their game. And that prep work, Mac, on those books before a playoff series that you guys have done over the years, so valuable.
You know what? I think when we were in our Stanley Cup run, I was gone from home almost for 6 straight weeks, where we would stay at a hotel the night before games, and we would you're really into it and doing the prep work you're talking about, and the team meetings at the hotel and staying at the hotel and eating your meals at the hotel. And I'll never forget my daughter, Mackenzie, at the time, who was like 6 years of age. She said, Dad, we were going into game 7 against Pittsburgh. And I phoned home and she said, Dad, if you lose tonight, what happens? And I said, honey, if we lose to Pittsburgh tonight, hockey's over for this year. And she said to me, oh, Dad, I hope you lose tonight. So the what it does to the whole everybody, and we're talking about the bubble scenario and how tough it is on families. And, I chuckle about that. So she didn't really give a rat's ass if we won, to be quite honest. And she hasn't changed that much.
Is she watching us? At least will she watch us on the Real Kyper at Noon show?
She loves when Real Mac is on at noon. She doesn't know your name is part of it, I don't think.
Mac, tell Mackenzie that I'm giving away a Harley Davidson and her dad isn't. I'm the one that's giving away a Harley on blitzbet.eu. All she has to do is go put one simple bet on a hockey game. It could be as little as $1, and you get in, Mac, to win a $40,000 Harley Davidson. How cool is that?
Oh my God. I wanted a Harley so bad. When I was in Columbus, I really wanted a Harley bad. And so we came to the cottage for Christmas. And what we do when we a lot of times we'd be away for Christmas. So whether it was in Europe scouting or whatever, and the family would be there, we would bring pictures of what we got each other for Christmas. So I would show Jill a picture of the luggage set I was getting her, really romantic type of a Christmas gift, So I open up my gift, and I had talked about her, and all of a sudden I have a big picture of a fat boy Harley. I'm thinking, I look at Jill, I said, oh my God, you got me a Harley? I can't believe this. I'm so excited. We get back to Columbus. I am so pumped up. I go in the house, and I have a 4-foot or a 2.5-foot remote control fat boy sitting in the living room.
They broke your heart.
I was crushed, and it would rumble like a real Harley, but it was a remote. So that's my Harley story. So I want to win this damn Harley.
I don't blame her one bit. I wouldn't trust you on that thing for 3 seconds.
That's cruel. After me getting her that beautiful luggage set.
Oh my goodness. Well, good on her for making the right decision. Yeah. I worry about you in your RV. You can't parallel park that thing. I know that.
I know. It's unbelievable.
Okay, Jordan, one more.
Yeah, sure. We got a bunch. To be honest,
let's keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
I worry about Doug with the RC Harley as well. A lot could happen. It's dangerous. I have a good question here. A lot of people have been talking about it, about our last video on Wednesday about Pettersson. What's your top 5 right now? Can we do one together? Can we figure out a little argument? How would you rank your top 5 NHL players, going 1 to 5 between the two of you?
Wow. That is such a loaded question, because you want to not take out complete talent out of it, but I factor in some other things, Mac, including on how good you make your team around you. And some guys are better at it now because their team's better. Some of them are struggling a little bit more. But there's an argument that we could put 10 people on this list, and nothing would suggest that you're not far off. Mac, you want to take a crack at this? That's me tap dancing around this while I think about my names. Mac, what do you think?
It's it's really, really hard. I'm looking. You know what? I've got to say,
let's just put the bullshit here.
For a pure talent, when I'm going to go.
Connor's got to be first.
I'm going Connor McDavid number 1.
That's a no-brainer.
I am going next.
McKinnon.
To McKinnon next.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it?
No, you go.
So after McDavid, McKinnon, I'm still coming back with Sid Crosby in my top 5. I love this guy. I love what he's done for hockey, for the game, for everything. He's what we are to sports broadcasting.
Yeah.
MVPs. I love the guy. So then after that, I'm sort of scrambling a little bit after that. Those are my top 3.
I
If we're gonna put
I
in
don't have any doubt. I don't have any doubt. I'm going for Draisaitl.
I'm going, okay, I'll take Matthews ahead of Draisaitl.
Ooh.
And I love Draisaitl, but I would take, I know Matthews has not got it done. I know that. But if you're out there looking at players, you cannot ignore Matthews and you cannot ignore Draisaitl. They are big-time players. Who else are we missing that is in that category?
I'll tell you honorable mentions, and I'll tell you who really, really, and Michael Bannock Jr. here goes Matthews all day long at number 5. So he's with you. My amazing intern here.
Guy knows his stuff.
I will say that while he's not on my top 5, Jonathan Toews and Pat Kane are world class. Jonathan Toews showed me so much, Mac, so much yet again in this 24-team bubble tournament that we had. I look at Matthews and I go, he's a great goal scorer, Mac. He is a great goal scorer, but I don't see enough in his overall play, and I don't see enough, particularly in the center position for me, Mac. You have to be a threat not only to score, but more importantly, you have to be able to see the ice great and really set up. You got to be a great passer. You got to have a real threat to be a guy that can distribute the puck. Matthews to me, Mac, is, you can argue that you should put him on the wing. Shouldn't be a centerman. He's a shooter. He's a natural shooter. He's a goal scorer. That's more of a winger than it is a centerman.
I don't have a problem with your analysis. I don't. But I'm going to say this. Can we say quite a bit of the same about Draisaitl to this point? I mean, Draisaitl has been, I know he had this unbelievable year past. He's had the luxury of being with Connor McDavid, especially on power play, especially on 3-on-3. McDavid has had good people with him as well. I don't know that it's a big difference between the two. I love Draisaitl, don't get me wrong. And I love Matthews. I just think they're pure talent guys. And I think they both have a lot to prove. Connor still has a lot to prove.
I would put Marner. I would put Marner ahead of Matthews for overall being a threat.
I wouldn't. And I like Marner, but I want the big power guy. And I love Marner, but I don't have him ahead. But I'll tell you this, the one guy, and I said it the other day, Pettersson's not there yet, but he will be in this conversation sooner than later, and it might be after this playoff run if they happen to win a couple of more rounds. Then he is that damn good.
Then Bo Horvat is a top 10 guy. Then he's right there too.
He and don't even underestimate what Quinn becomes. So you know what? I think we all go towards the younger guys, but like I love the fact that you brought up Toews. I like that you brought up Kane. These are world-class guys that have just done so much. We haven't even got to talk Malkin.
I'll tell you this too, that if you had Barkov living in Edmonton and Draisaitl playing for the Florida Panthers, we would have Barkov on that list all day long.
And he's got a little bit of the Matthews thing going. He's got to do more for me too yet. We love them, but he's got to do more to grab that franchise as well. And it's tough because it's all about, look, I go back to talking about Steve Yzerman when I was with him in Detroit for 4 or 5 years. Stevie, once he got the supporting cast, Stevie Y became one of the greatest captains in the history of the game. But he needed the supporting cast to become that. And that's what he ended up getting. So,
yeah, honorable mentions.
Great conversation.
Yeah, really good one. Really good one. Good question, Jordan. Give me
hold on. We have to finalize it. We have top four for you guys.
Hold on. On a couple of honorable mentions, Mac. I'll go Zibanejad and Panarin knocking on the door of the top 5. Is that fair? Give me a couple other names.
You're out to lunch on that one.
No? You don't like Panarin. You're not a Panarin fan.
No, they're good players. They're very, very good players. Very, very good players, but not top 5 in the league for me.
Okay. I said honorable mention.
Okay. Honorable mention. That's fair.
You got throw me one more honorable mention before we definitively say what our 5 are.
Oh, who else would there be? I'm having trouble finding those guys right now that are top 5. I mean, it's so, you have to go back over, the last 10 years. I mean, what happens is we seem to take this into who's the best the last 2 or 3 years.
The flavor of the month.
That's right. And that's why you've got to have some of the Taves and the Kane and some of these superstars that have been good overall. Duncan Keith, what did he mean to this franchise? That won so many Stanley Cups. What has Bergeron meant to the Boston Bruins over the last 5 years? There's so many great players. So it's really hard to get stuck. But I still have to say, if we went over the past 10 years, it's not even close. It's Sid Crosby. Not even close.
Not even close. Yeah.
Not even close.
That there has to be something to be said.
So
you're
a flavor of the month. You're a flavor of the month guy. I'm a long-term thinker.
See, why did I say that's a habit brought right back in my face, right? So Connor, McKinnon, Sid, and I went Draisaitl and Marner. You went 4 or 5. Where did you go with?
I had Matthews in there, and I'm a little nervous.
Matthews?
To me, it sounds like you're more about a top 4, and then that 5th is the one that makes you guys a little nervous who to give that honor to.
I think anybody.
Jordan, don't have so many damn rules, Jordan.
Okay, all right, it's your show, buddy.
So
it's your show.
If we were doing
I'm just a guest.
If we were doing just best playoff performers, 3 or 4 guys would be off the list.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Because a few of them haven't spent a lot of time in the playoffs. And how do you consider guys the greatest of all time when they haven't hardly had a damn playoff game? Anyways. Okay, Jordan.
Good
question. Good question.
We got another one. Joe was saying that the chat is really going crazy, talking about different things. Who would be in your top 3 defensemen, if you guys want to go in that route, or it might be a little bit.
Guys, I think the top 3 is pretty tough. Like top 2 might be pretty clear, but getting that last one, we were talking about this the other day. You guys haven't mentioned a defenseman yet at all in your top 5 NHL players. So let's hear about the D-men.
That's really
okay. I'm gonna jump in with what I've watched this year, and again, it's a recent, but don't give me. I can't give you Jones.
Don't give me a guy that just reached puberty either yesterday. Okay.
No. But we think back to the Lidstroms and the Prongers and the Niedermayers, what they did for their franchises. Who today is going to do what Pronger, what Lidstrom, what these guys did, Niedermayer, what these Stanley Cup winners did for their franchises? Who is capable of doing that as we move forward? Well, you got to look at Hedman as a guy. You got to look at whether you like Jones. Jones has got to be looked at for what he's done, what Heiskanen's going to do, what Quinn's going to do. So it's the old versus the new,
A guy that has earned
Duncan
my
Keith.
respect is Pietrangelo in St. Louis.
Totally.
He's totally earned my respect as being a top four.
But that's one Stanley Cup. What about Niedermeyer? What about what Pronger? What about what Lidstrom? The Stanley
We're not
Cups
going
they brought?
history here. We're just going today.
No Roman
Don't
Yossi
change
love,
the
boys?
don't change the
Who?
question.
Roman Yossi. What about him? He's got to be in the
Roman Yossi's got to get it done more in the playoffs, but he's a hell of a player.
Me
He's
too.
a hell of a player.
Me too. I don't. I like Roman Yossi, and I thought I saw him during the World Cup, which he was fascinating in terms of getting up and down the ice with all the big boys. No question, he's right there. But
who cares about the World Cup? Seriously, give me the Olympics or something. Give me something.
Okay.
I mean, if we're going to get into Roman Yossi, where the hell is Drew Doughty and what he's done?
Well,
and
Drew's
Duncan Keith and what he's done.
Drew's still right there. The team has not been very good around him. He's felt the weight of the world to start doing goofy things out there, but he's still very much on the top of your list if you're filling out a roster for the next Olympics. How can you not have Drew Doughty still at the peak?
Doughty was mentioned. John Carlson, another
Right.
name. Some people were concerned a little bit about his defense.
John Carlson is another one that's earned a lot of respect out of me in the last little while. And what'd you think of, Mike Green had a heck of a career, Mac. We know he just recently retired. We read an article in The Athletic where he's shutting it down. But man, this was a guy, I think 2008, 2009, 31 goals. He put the puck in the net and he could get up and down the ice.
Yeah, Green had a amazing career, a great career, but he's not in the category of the guys we're talking about. But hey, this guy had a great career and was really important to the Washington Capitals and even Detroit. And obviously Edmonton could have used him this year. He opted out. But anyway, he had a wonderful career.
Okay, here's a question from.
We're all over the map, Kypreos, on this.
Well, it's Friday, for God's sakes. Okay,
Thank God it's Friday.
I'm going to give you one defenseman to start your franchise, and I'm going to give you Makar, Hughes, or Heiskanen. Who do you take? You still with me, or?
It's really a really tough one, and I love Makar and I love Heiskanen. I absolutely love the way they play, and I'm taking Quinn.
You are
taking Quinn.
I'm taking Makar.
Okay,
right-handed shot.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Third overall.
They're at a premium. They are at a premium.
I marvel at what Quinn has done for the Vancouver Canucks hockey team as a kid. Look, Nick, you and I coached in the prospects game in Toronto, recall?
Yep.
And the Quinn boys were involved in that prospects game the few years we did it. And I remember just on the bench watching these guys play, and I'm thinking, oh my God, how good were they? And they were Bantams then, if I'm not mistaken, in the MTHL All-Star Prospects game. And to watch them perform already, but I just marvel at what Quinn's done for Vancouver's back end and overall team play.
Him and Pettersson, two most important players on the team already.
Yeah. And you said Horvat. I mean, there's a group of them there, but it's fun to. Isn't it amazing how everybody we're talking about are young players in the game, and that's what is exciting. And we've tried to bring up some of the veteran guys that have done so much for the game, but we're talking a lot of young guys that are really taking over the league.
Okay, before we let you go, let's just touch a little bit on what we're going to see once play resumes this weekend. I had mentioned giving away the Harley. I'm also going to boost odds this weekend, Mac, for blitzbet.eu, where you're going to get better odds on the game than anywhere else because of me. So I'm starting to give away stuff, Mac. It's really good.
You aren't a guy that typically gives things away.
That's right. I can spend. I'm like you.
You're a receiver. You're a receiver, not a giver.
No, I'm like you in Columbus, where I can spend my owner's money with the best of them, as long as it's not mine. So I'm giving you better odds this weekend on blitzbet.eu. So you Canadian deposits only. I know I'm working on it. I'll get more people involved, but right now,
By the
just
way,
Canadian deposits only.
Can I mention something?
I don't know.
Pound the like button. Pound the like button.
Pound the like button and subscribe. Our numbers are growing, Mac. We're actually gaining viewers as we speak. Who would have thought?
I would have thought.
Now, was our highest rated show again with Alan May or Darren Pang, Jordan?
No, it was with Doug a couple days ago.
Those guys aren't within 25% of my high.
Jordan,
I thought you weren't an analytic guy, Doug. I thought you liked to keep it more of an eye test.
Jordan, I'm trying to get his head shrunk, not bigger. Can you help me out a little bit here next time? I'm looking for a raise.
I take bribes and meat lovers pizzas, dude. So
okay, Mac. Philly and the Islanders, 7 p.m. Saturday night. Do we see Philly starting to get back on that train, that winning train that they were prior to maybe slowing down against the Montreal Canadiens? When do we start seeing them going again?
Philly big boys really stepped to the plate the other night. Myers, by the way, did I happen to mention Myers before the game?
I talked about Myers and
Philip
how excited
Myers
you
with the
were.
winner. I am taking the Islanders to bounce back in this one.
I'll take Philly. I'll take Philly to kind of roll with it a little bit. Vegas and Vancouver, we want to know who your starting goalie is for Vegas.
Well, it's going to be Leonard. Leonard will probably start. I know there's some debate, but Leonard will start. If Gerard Gallant was still the coach of Vegas, I will pick Vegas. Piss on them. I'm taking Van.
Okay, I'll go with Vegas to recover here, and
I gotta get away from the sentimental things.
As long as they don't blow the zone and leave Brock Besser and Bo Horvat on a 2-on-0, and I don't care if your goalie's Turk Broda, okay? You're not stopping and beating the Vancouver Canucks. So how about just playing a little defense for 60 minutes if you're Vegas?
The only thing I don't see about Vegas that has Stanley Cup written all over it is their blue line. And Vancouver have got to play against that blue line. They have got to take it to that blue line. I love Theodore Martinez. After that, they can take advantage of that blue line. I don't know, but this forward group of Vegas are special. It's going to be a tough series.
Okay. Your Boston Bruins against Tampa.
I'm going to say this, and I mean this. If Corrali's back, he's out with a groin right now, apparently. If he's back, I'm picking Boston.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's okay. I'm just trying to figure out what Michael's trying to say to me. Evkin. From Germany. Mac, we got viewers from Germany. That's what I'm being told right now. How cool is that?
Nick, it doesn't surprise me. You've got to understand, Nick, we're worldwide. I mean, come on, you got to get with it, man.
Okay. So your Boston Bruins going to recover from that shellacking?
I see. I'm sentimental here. I am a Bruins fan. I have been for a while. I want the Bruins to win. I'm just a little nervous.
It's easy to know that you've bailed on your Toronto Maple Leaf jersey, we've noticed, and went back to the Boston Bruins. Is that how desperate you are for the Bruins to rebound here?
Look, I wanted to make the Leaf fans feel good for a couple of days that I was in their corner. I'm back to my Bruins. I'm not sure how long I'm leaving Stevie Y up here. I think I've got a new one coming in on Monday or next week. It's Monday.
Just a quick note. It was interesting to hear Doug Armstrong speak about how as many as 20% of his lineup had COVID at some point going into, and we often questioned a little bit what's wrong with St. Louis. I got to imagine that because everybody reacts differently or everybody recovers differently, when they are able to do that, it had an effect. And I can tell you, Mac, from what I know, that and I'm never going to reveal any names on that because I've made it abundantly clear that's not what I do. And that's not what we want to do on the Real Kyper Noon Show. But we're talking about guys that played over 20 minutes that had COVID. We're not we're talking about big time nucleus players here from the St. Louis Blues that were affected here.
By the same token, let's not forget that Austin Matthews had COVID as well.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't know how it affects people. We know how deadly it can be, but we don't know how like you just said, how it affects these guys.
And
anyway,
and one more note, Tarasenko going to have his third surgery, Mac, on the same shoulder.
Not good news.
Like if you're Doug Armstrong, they think that
Nick,
hopefully you'll never really know. I can tell you once you're going into your third surgery, it's one of those where you got to go in and really find out what's going on before you can make any type of assessment. So let's hope. Let's hope he can resume his career.
We talk about hockey players. Is there anything worse than shoulder problems that can derail somebody's career? The last thing you ever want to hear is a young player is having shoulder problems. It can be devastating. Let's hope that's not the case with Tarasenko. He's a great player.
Okay, so listen, you've been off for 2 days. No excuse now for being tired, staying up late for the West Coast games out of PEI. You should be well rested going into this weekend.
Would you suggest I stop on the way home and get a box of red wine for guests, or should I get a bottle for my pizza?
For your, you know what goes really good is Little Buddha Cocktail Company.
I love Little Buddha cocktails, but I'll tell you what,
and rosemary.
I mean, what I do, I buy a box of wine and then I put it in a decanter and they can't tell the difference.
Doug McLean on this Friday for your entertainment on the Real Kyper at Noon show. Mac, have a great weekend. Spend some time in the RV and watch your games.
You too, man.
We'll see you Monday. Doug McLean, everybody from Summerside, PEI. And for all of you, thank you so much for joining us. Please keep the subscriptions coming. We watch you. We listen to you. We hear your comments. This has been a terrific week. Good on the players for taking a breath and calming the waters down. And let's be mindful to each other. Let's be kind to each other. And that's the best way we can move forward. I'm Nick Kypreos for Real Kyper at Noon. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you Monday.